Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Weapon Christ show where we empower Christians to become financially free without compromising their faith. On the show today, I have Mr. Kevin Jennings. Mr. Kevin Jennings is a resilient, accomplished entrepreneur who bounced back from a significant financial loss during the 2008 recession to build a thriving business in government contracting, real estate, and construction. In this episode, we'll be discussing Mr. Kevin's success in government contracting space. So thank you for being here, Mr. Kevin.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
To get us started, I want to ask, how are you doing today? How's your week been so far?
As the weeks go by so fast nowadays, it's just every day is a whirlwind, but I'm continuously trying to just do more and more every day and living my truth. But it's been a good week.
That's really good. I'm glad to hear that you're having a great week so far. I want to start on this conversation by asking you, how did you get started in construction back in 2008?
Yeah, so I went to school for engineering, and when I got out of college in 2004, I started working on construction sites, and I got introduced to real estate during the construction, like working on construction sites, because guys were like flipping houses back in the early 2000s. So I started flipping houses like on the side with a couple of friends of mine, and that's how I got into construction more. And then when the market crashed in 2008, I kind of transitioned. I couldn't flip houses anymore, and I knew I didn't really want to go back to working a normal job. So then that's when I decided to start the construction business.
Okay. And how did you get introduced in that process of government contracting? Or how did you go about learning and discovering government contracting?
Yeah, so my dad introduced me to government contracting because he was very familiar with it. And then I just immersed myself in it, started learning as much as I could about, what it was, what the government bought, how the government buys, the different agencies, how much those agencies spend on an annual basis. I just started learning as much as I can about the whole process of government contracting.
Okay. And for someone who's listening who may not know what government contracting, what is government contracting? You can put in simple words. What is government
Yeah,
contracting?
yeah, really simple. It's like, so the United States government is the largest consumer of goods and services in the world. So they buy all types of products and services. The same way we buy products and services from stores, the government buys products and services. But not all the time can they go to stores for services. And sometimes they can't even go to stores for all the products they need. So they come to contractors like myself to facilitate those needs. One way to think about it is like, say they needed to buy copy paper and they went to their local Office Depot and they need, say, 1,000 boxes of copy paper, but Office Depot only has 100. So then they would have to find those other 900 from other places. So instead of them going and calling 9 different Office Depots to get the paper that they need, they call me, and then it's my job to go find what it is that they need and supply it to them. So basically what we do as government contractors is we take a need that the government has and we provide it to them more streamlined, easier, and hopefully at a discount from what they would get if they went and tried to do it on their own.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. And before we go on, I wanted to talk about, real quick, how were you able, I guess my question is, how were you able to still push forward, after experiencing the 2008 recession? A lot of people lost a lot of things, lost a lot of money, and a lot of people lost hope, and a lot of businesses still suffering from the losses that they had basically attained in 2008. So how were you able to push on and see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, truly, honestly, it was all because of my faith. So you have to have faith in something greater than yourself, and you have to know that, there's a purpose for why you're doing things, and believe that God's not going to bring you to something that he can't bring you through. And so I looked at the recession of 2008 as just something that he was bringing me to, a test or a trial to help make me stronger for the next step. So I just kept pushing. I knew that that wasn't going to be the end of my story. It may be the end of a chapter in the book that is my story, but I knew that that wasn't the end of my story. And so I didn't let the things that were happening really take me off of task. I still knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to be. And I knew what I could become. So I just looked at it that way.
Okay, and I guess to follow with that, for a lot of businesses now in this current economy, some businesses are doing pretty well and some businesses are not. For the businesses that are not doing well and they're going through some storms and trials, similar to me, what you may be going through in 2008, what would your word of encouragement be to such entrepreneurs and business owners?
Like as you're going through stuff, you really just gotta try to find the meaning, find the understanding, and figure out what the lesson is. Because like I said, there's no losses in business. There's only lessons. Like you may have a deal that doesn't go the right way. You don't look at that as a loss. You look at that as a lesson. You gotta be like, okay, so what do we do wrong? What do we need to change to do better for next time? And so going through those storms and those trials, it's the same thing. Those are just lessons. So you have to look at, okay, what can I extract from this lesson to make me a better business person? What did I do wrong? What could I have done different in my business? So one thing for me that I learned throughout that time was I was investing in real estate and I was flipping houses, but I didn't have much of a nest egg. So I didn't have much assets. So therefore, when things started going on, I didn't have things that I could liquidate or things that I could use to turn into income for myself because my income was just through the creation of money and flipping, right?
Yeah,
So that's the lesson that I took from that. And then I said, okay, so now next time I do stuff, I want to do it like this and have a well balanced portfolio so that you're able to make it through. Because life is all about ups and downs. Like you think about it, we have seasons. Like
yeah,
we have 4 seasons. We have spring, summer, winter, fall. Like we can't just have summer 365 days a year, and we just can't have winter 365 days a year, right? So you have to have the seasons. So you have to have the changes. And so it's how you maintain through those changes that make you a good business person.
you're 100% right. I definitely agree with that. There's different times that where you may be up and you need to, to maximize it, and there's gonna be times where you're down. You need to learn from these experiences. Which leads me to want to ask, what are the basic steps for someone can take looking to get into government contracting? What are some basic steps people can take if they wanted
Yeah,
to get into government contracting today?
yeah. So it's a real simple process. Like first of all, I tell people don't be intimidated because it's the government. The government doesn't mean anything. The government is just another business entity, right? You don't get scared when you hear Walmart, so don't get scared when you hear government. That's
Yeah,
the first thing. Second thing people have to understand is it's not hard. They think when they hear government, we've been trained to equate government with a hard time, like struggle, and it's not. It's actually easier to do business with the government than it is to do business with other people because the government has rules, they have standards, they have policies, they have procedures that they have to govern themselves by, and they put them in place so that the government runs the same, right? So if the government didn't have their own internal laws, the state of Florida would operate completely different than Georgia, and we would have essentially 50 different countries within one country.
yeah,
But because we all live under one order, that's why everything is maintained, right? And so it's the
yeah.
same way in doing business with the government. They operate under a set of guidelines. So the first thing you should do is understand how the government works, right? And you can do that by looking up things like the FAR, the FAR, which is the Federal Acquisitions Regulation. That will tell you how the government operates in the procurement world. From there, you want to go on sam.gov. Sam.gov is the site where you will register yourself to become eligible to do business with the government. After you're registered and you get what's called a cage code, you're eligible to bid. And then during that process, you'll also put in any certifications that you may qualify for. So whether it be women owned, small business, veteran owned, hub zone 8A, or social economic disadvantage, any of those, you'll be able to put those into the system and get those designations. And then from there, it's just doing market research, understanding who buys what you sell and understanding how they buy it, and then going out there and letting people know that you have a product or service that they can utilize. And then you can also go back to sam.gov where they post opportunities on a regular basis.
That's wonderful. And I want to ask you, what was your journey or how did it feel when you first got your first government contract and what was you specialize or niche in terms of government contracting?
I started in the construction space. Like I said, I was doing products first. That's how I got my original start, was through products. And then I transitioned into services, and I was doing construction services for the government. But initially, I was doing products. I was selling paper towels, toilet paper, and even some construction products to the government. And then transitioned into actually doing services for them, doing construction services.
So I guess my question is, I know with government contract, you need to be able to build a team or you need to have access to like different vendors. What are
Mm.
some resources that you would, tell people that they can go and ask us to build, access to vendors or just having that resource, when they are building a win a contract, they're able to fulfill it.
Yeah, so first I would reach out to the government, right? So the government, every agency has an OSDBU, so Office of Small Disadvantaged Business Utilization. The goal of those small business offices is to assist you in being successful. So that's the first place I would go. That's the first team member I would align myself with, is the small business office from whatever agencies I'm going to be working with, because they're going to be the ones that are going to advocate for you. They're going to be the ones that are going to help find people to help you, whether that be mentors, whether that be vendors, even employment. So I would start with the OSDBU, right? From there, you can then go to the SBA. The SBA is a great resource. And then the SBA also has a system called Subnet. So the SBA Subnet is where you can go to find subcontractors. And if you're a subcontractor, you can go to find prime contractors. And then the last place that I would look is industry organizations. So for example, I'm in the construction space. So I deal with organizations like the National Contract Management Association, National Association of General Contractors. I go to these industry organizations to then find other professionals that do the things that I do. So those are some of the ways that if I was just starting out, you can start doing things. And all of those are no cost ways to do things. There are, of course, ways to do things that are going to be more costly, like soliciting on Blue Book and running ads and posting on job posting sites, because there's a lot of publications that will send out, jobs to let vendors know that you have jobs that you need bid on. But I would start with the free ways first.
I appreciate you sharing that. And I want to ask, being that said, from your experience, what were some challenges that you had to overcome? I know you mentioned you learned it from your dad. So I guess my question, what are some things you learned from your dad that benefit you in your journey, that you can share with us?
So as it relates to government contracting, some of the stuff I learned was how the government actually operates. So the things that he really couldn't show me was like how to do things in my time. And this is why I say that the government is constantly changing. The government is always changing as the world changes.
Yeah.
So he did stuff and was doing stuff a certain way from the 90s and the late 80s. But when I got into it in 2008, things were a little bit different. So the core foundation of how the government operates is the same, but how they were buying changed, the things that they were buying changed, the ways that they contracted changed a little bit. So he could give me the basics and the general understanding, and then from there I kind of dove in and started learning. But I had that little bit of a learning curve already taken out.
And I guess being that you had learned, what were some other, did you face any challenges or what were some
So
challenges you had to overcome, despite, having that background that your dad already giving you?
yeah, for me, I had a lot of challenges. Financially, I wasn't in a good place because I had just come out of the recession and essentially losing everything. So I was starting from scratch. So I didn't really have a financial base set up. I literally started from scratch. So that was one of the biggest hurdles for me, was, okay, how am I going to do this with no money and debt and bad credit? So how am I going to not only create income and revenue for myself, but how am I going to get myself out of this hole that I've dug myself in through the recession? So that was the first one. The second was my age. 2008, I was only 27 years old. So I was going into some of these government buildings, meeting with some of these individuals, as essentially how they would look at it, like a kid. I was the same age as some of their children, so I wasn't really taken seriously. And then on top of that, it's not like I had a military background or I had any sort of background that would lend them to understand why I wanted to get in government contracting. People would look at me as a 27-year-old and they're like, well, why are you getting into space? You know, because most people that get in government contracting honestly are either prior military, so they understand because they saw it from the military side, or it's people that were working in the government for a long time and decided they didn't want to be on that side, they wanted to be on this side. Very rarely do you just get random people from the outside that just want to get into the space. So I had all those things stacked up against me when I got into it. But the more people saw my hunger and they saw that I really wanted to be a part of it, they started to take me more and more seriously.
So I guess my first question, you mentioned not starting from nothing, not having good credit. Is good credit is having bad credit, would that be a hindrance to someone getting started in government contracting today?
No,
And it's
I tell everybody like you can start from nothing, you can start from less than nothing, but um, it's like a ratio or an equation, right? So everything is a ratio of time and money. So the
yeah.
more money you have, the less time you maybe have to put in because you're able to spend money to advance your time, right? The more time you have and the less money you have, you're gonna have to put more of that in because you don't have the money to subsidize it. So if somebody were to come to me and they said, "Listen, I don't have any money, but I'm willing to put the work in," they can be just as successful as someone that comes with good credit and a lot of money, but doesn't want to put a lot of the time in. It's a perfect ratio of time and money. And so the more you have of one, the less you have the other. You just have to be willing to do what's necessary to level the playing field. And so I have a lot of people that start and they literally don't have the financial means to be able to do some of the stuff they want to do, but they're willing to put the work in. And so them putting in 12, 14, 16-hour days to be successful, that kind of pushes them a little bit closer and they don't necessarily need that money. So it can definitely be done. I'd say it's one of the few industries that you can truly start with nothing and build yourself up if you're willing to put the work in.
Okay, so and I guess so if you could elaborate. So let's say for me right now, I'm 25, similar age as you, and I don't have any money. What would be the first step in terms of, trying to pay for these different things, certifications, you know,
Get
like
with
how
the
would I go?
I
Mhm.
would do what, just like I said, get with the OSDBU, get with the SBA, get with the PTAC, find your local chamber of commerce, get with the MBDA. There are a lot of organizations out there that their purpose is to help small businesses that have some sort of disadvantage, right? So like the MBDA, for example, I use them. That's the Minority Business Development Agency. They're funded by the Department of Commerce. So they get paid from the Department of Commerce and they'll help you with your certifications. They'll help you write proposals. If you need money to get started, they'll help you get access to capital. They'll write the grants for you so you can get a grant to expand your business. The problem is that people don't know that they exist. So it's like the resources are there for you. You just don't know where to look for them. And so that's another thing that I try to pride myself on is exposing people to the resources that are available because the government doesn't give them money to let the world know they exist. The government gives them money to help people. And so
Yeah.
that's all they do. They just help people, but they only help who comes to their office. So you'll see some of these offices, you'll go to them and there's literally 20 people in there and they'll sit there all day and never do anything because they're like, well, nobody came today. And I'm like, well, did you tell people that you're here? Well, we don't get paid that. They tell us just, when somebody comes, we help them. So if nobody comes, they don't help them. It's the same thing with the
Ah,
money. There's millions of dollars that are set aside for people like you, but you don't know who to call. So all you got to do is pick the phone up and call and be like, hey, I have a brand new business. I'm 25 years old. I want to get started. And they say, well, how much money do you need? Man, if I had $10,000, I could live my dream. Okay, here's 20,000 and go do it. And all these things are available, but you don't know. Nobody knows that they're available.
that's crazy. 100% right. And I guess, going on that same path, from your experience and, helping different people, get into government contracting, what would you say is the biggest mistake, outside of not knowing, where to get the resource? Is there any other thing you can think of that people fall into the trap of
The
that
biggest
limits them from
problem
succeeding?
The biggest problem that I have with business owners, and it's not even just in the government contracting realm, the biggest problem is they don't really know why they're in business.
Mm.
They don't know why they're in business. They don't know what their purpose is. They don't know. They have no, all they know is they just say, well, I want to be rich. Why do you want to be rich? Well, I just want to be rich. But why? Why do you want money? What is the reason why you are saying, I want $1 million? Because if you don't know the reason why you want it, it's not going to do you any good to have it.
Mm.
And that's the biggest problem is people get into this and say, well, I just want to be rich. I can make anybody rich. What are you going to do with it once you're rich? Because if you don't know what to do with it, you're going to lose it. That was my problem in 2008. When I was in 2004, 2005, 2006, I'm in my early 20s. I made millions of dollars, but I didn't know what I wanted money for. I just wanted money because that's what the rappers said you wanted. You wanted to have money. There was no purpose for the money. So if you have no purpose for the money, it doesn't matter. And that's the biggest problem business owners have, especially when they get into this, because I can literally take somebody from being bankrupt to being to having businesses that are 6, 7, and 8 figures in less than 12, 24 months. That's not the problem. The problem is once you do that, what are you going to do? And most people don't know what they want to do. They just know they want it. And so that's the thing that goes back to like with religion and faith. God will give it to you. But if you don't know what to do with it, he'll just take it right away. So you can say, yeah, you had it, but it doesn't matter. It's not about what you can attain, it's what you can maintain.
Mm.
You can attain anything, but what can you maintain? And that's the problem is people don't know what they want and why they want it, so they can't maintain it when they receive it. So that's my biggest. Anytime a business owner comes to me for help, I'm always asking them, what is your why? I'm making them do a lot of self-exploration. If you don't understand why you want money and what you're going to do with money when you get it, if you don't know what the purpose for your life is, if you don't wake up every day and say, I'm on this earth to do X, Y, and Z, and today I'm going to do everything in my power to be the best version of myself, it doesn't matter about finances or anything because money does not make you happy. And
Mm.
anybody that thinks that it does, they're sadly mistaken. People that think money makes you happy have never had enough money to understand it doesn't.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot of gems right there. And I definitely appreciate you saying that because it has me thinking, like having me thinking right now as I'm interviewing you, like what's the reason I want to become successful? And I guess, to going on that path, what are ways people can answer this question? Like what can they do to answer these questions? Like, what are some resources people can that has helped you answer these
Mm.
questions of why you want to become successful? Why do you want to become a successful entrepreneur?
Life for me, it took me a long time to um, uh, really kind of like understand what my purpose was. But that's what it is like everybody's got to kind of figure out what their purpose is. What's your reason? You know, what gifts has God given you? And how are you going to use the gifts that he's given you to magnify him and to help others? That's at the end of the day, bro, that's what it's all about. Once
Right.
you understand what your gift is and how to use your gift for good, that's success.
Yeah,
Money is not
100%.
success. Money
Yeah,
is the complete opposite of success. Money is like we just passed Halloween. Money is like a Halloween costume. All money will do is just dress up whatever it is that you are. And
that's
then
true.
you're gonna have to take it off at some point. You can't go to sleep with your Halloween costume on. The
That's
money
very
doesn't
true.
matter when you go to sleep. Money doesn't matter when you're in the hospital. Money doesn't matter when you're in the grave. Money's a costume. So unless you know who you are underneath that money, it doesn't matter. And that's the problem is most people in today's world, especially, don't know why God puts breath in their lungs every day to get up. They just know they get up. And once you understand why you get up every day and what you're supposed to do with them 24 hours, nothing's going to matter. But the moment you do understand, your entire life will change if you start to live in your truth.
Hey family, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are and you have yet to subscribe to us here on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And also, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts and you have yet to leave us a 5-star review, please do so. Now back to the episode. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100% right about that. And I want to kind of ask, because reading your biography and also reading your what is it? What am I saying? Your spotlight in the Rolling Stone, I realized that you was basically able to secure a contract for the Super Bowl as a general contractor and labor provider. I want to talk
Mhm.
about how were you able to position yourself to get that opportunity, and how did that opportunity push you forward in your career?
Yeah, so my initial NFL contract was in 2010, and it was for a general contractor and general labor services here in Miami. Um, I went to an event and I just basically put myself out there, like, "Hey, I'm here. This is what I do." Not not thinking or feeling like anything would ever come from it. I just put myself out there, and then lo and behold, someone called me. They gave me an opportunity, and then I maximized the opportunity. That's another thing that people have to learn to do is you got to maximize opportunities. Like anytime, like when you get up and you're doing something in business and something is put in front of you, it's put in front of you for a reason. Like things don't come across you. You don't meet people. You don't see things. Nothing is by chance. Everything happens for a reason. So once you start to understand that everything happens for a reason and you're maximizing the opportunities that are in front of you, you begin to excel. And that's what I did with that NFL opportunity. An opportunity was put in front of me. I took advantage of the opportunity. I then thought, how can I maximize the potential of this opportunity? And then I maximized the potential of the opportunity into what it is for me today, 13, 14 years later. I'm still maximizing that opportunity that I was given in 2010.
That's great. And if I'm not mistaken, are you still in government contracting? Or did you sell the business? I know I read something about you
So I
selling.
sold I sold one business. I sold one of my government contracting businesses back in 2017. I'm still in government contracting today. I have another business that I continue to operate in the space. Um, I'll never get out of it because it's just who I am. It's what I know. It's what I do.
Hmm.
Um, but I have found what my purpose is, which I believe is to help others through my story. And so that is what I feel like my true purpose is. And that's where a lot of my focus is spent now these days is interacting with other small business owners and kind of using the things that I've been through as education for them to try to grow their businesses in the space.
That's great. And I want to kind of like, if you could elaborate about that deal you sold in 2017, what led you to want to sell that part of the business in 2017?
Yeah, I
And
really
how did
didn't.
you price it?
I
How did you
didn't.
go
I
out
didn't
like
want to sell. I didn't want to sell. Somebody approached me and just offered me something for my business, and it was at a time in my business where I was struggling in the business anyway. Like I was making money, I was afloat, but that particular business I was still growing it. I had only been doing it a couple of years, so it was still growing. I was still working 12, 14 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week trying to grow the business. And when I was approached with an opportunity to sell, I felt like I had to take advantage of it because once again, I was given an opportunity. And so I rolled with it, and it ended up working out for me. Changed my life, changed my family's life, not just financially, but put me in a position where I was able to educate myself a lot more on business, and that's something that I felt like I needed as well.
okay. And how did you know, like, you mentioned, how did you know that that was a fair price to sell your business? Like, how did you go about educating yourself in terms of,
I didn't. I just went. It was more money than I had ever seen, so I was like, yes. But was it a good price? Probably not. Was it a good deal? No, it was a horrible deal. But it was more money than I had ever seen. It was more money than anybody I had known had ever seen. So I was like, sure, I'll take it.
and I guess what are some lessons, you learned from that you would do different? Somebody was supposed to approach you about selling a part of
Yeah.
your government contracting business.
If it was if it was if I was doing it all over again, I would have put a better team in place, put better systems in place to add more value to the business, had better legal advice, like really been able to understand what it was that I was doing, understand what it was that I had built, understand the value of what I had built and how someone else could utilize it and what they could turn it to, and really understanding the potential. And so I would do all of those things before I sold. But like I said, that in that scenario, I didn't pitch my business to sell. I wasn't trying to sell it. It's just somebody came along and wanted to buy it. So I was like, all right, fine. And I sold it to them.
That's great. And in the new capacity that you're in right now, what does your day-to-day look like in terms of government contract? I know you mentioned you're interacting with small business, but what does that look like per se?
Yeah, so now we operate in the Southeast United States, doing water and wastewater rehabilitation for municipalities, primarily a lot here in Florida, but we are doing stuff in some other states as well. So my typical days start a little early because construction starts early. So I typically am talking to people, getting things going, kind of slow midday. So I'd say probably from like 9 o'clock till 2 o'clock. I'm kind of slow, so I'm just doing emails, looking for new opportunities, and then towards the end of the day, just making a lot of end of the day calls, and that's it. It's not the good thing about government contracting. I tell people is it is very easy to run because the government only operates from essentially 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
There's no weekend work. There's no overtime. Typically, it's very structured in how they operate. So you're not doing stuff outside of that realm of that. So for people that love that, structured 9 to 5 type thing, it's essentially what it is. But you're controlling your time yourself. But it's not going to be any weekend work. It's not going to be much work past 5. Most agencies, you're not going to see stuff happen past 3 or 4. That's typically when a lot of them are going to cut off. So it makes it very, very easy to run the business.
And I appreciate that you sharing that. One thing I want to ask, I know a government contract is the bidding a contract, and how would you advise people to go about bidding a contract and making sure that they're able to win some contracts?
The good thing about government contracting is that there's a lot of resources out there to pass data. Okay, so there's a lot of websites and places that you can go to look up historical data on how your industry bids, right? So you can figure out who your competition is, how they price things. You can look at the last couple of years worth of contracts similar to yours, see how they're priced. You can figure out the vendors that people use. So you can predict your pricing very, very, very easily in this because it's all public information. So every contract that's ever awarded is public information because as citizens of the United States America, we are able to know how our tax dollars are being spent at any given day, right? So all this information is public information unless it's classified. So that makes it very, very easy. It's just not hard. You use the information and the tools that are there for you. But once again, it goes back to these informations and tools are here, but people just don't know that they are and they don't know where to look for them. So once you understand where the information is hidden at and how to find it, you just use it from there. The other thing is people don't understand the different types of proposal mechanisms, if you would, like different ways solicitations are put out. So people will say to me, oh, it's too hard to put together a proposal. And then my answer to that is, well, or my question I would say is, well, why are you putting together a proposal? Well, don't I gotta do a proposal and I gotta sell them all my past performance and all this? Like, no, that's one type. So
Yeah.
that's in an RFP. If you know you don't have that, why are you looking at RFPs? There's still IFBs, there's RFQs. So there's other types of things, but the problem is people don't understand. And so they think that when they think bidding something, it's, oh, I have to put together a proposal. It's like, no, you don't. You don't have to do a proposal. I haven't done a proposal in 8 years and I still win work all the time because I don't go after work that requires proposals. Go after work, go after bids, go after quotes. So there's a lot of misinformation or lack of information, I would say.
No, that's very important. You're like the third person I interviewed in regards to the government contract, and just I definitely appreciate your different perspective in regards to that. Now I want to kind of give you an opportunity, for someone who may be interested into learning more from you, and what are some programs or resources you have available for anyone who wanted to take advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, so I'm a little non-conventional in this way when it comes to some stuff, because what I tell people is this: there's a lot of free information out there. Go get all the free info before you ever pay for help or information from somebody, especially in the government contracting space. Go to the SBA, go to the PTAC, go to the MBDA, and go to the OSDBU for the different agencies. Go to all those free places first and get all the information from them. Then I would tell somebody, go to YouTube, go to my YouTube, go to other people's YouTube, watch as many videos as you can. Once you make the determination that government contracting fits for your life, then reach out to me and we can talk about, taking one of my courses or getting in our community. We have a course in community that we sell, comes with a private Facebook group and bi-weekly group coaching calls. Get into something like that, start meeting other people that are trying to do the same thing that you're doing. Talk to people like myself, get the questions that you have answered, right? Do stuff like that. Then the next step from there is we have boot camps. So once a quarter, I do boot camps in different cities. I travel the United States and I put a boot camp on once a quarter in a different city and kind of just bring 20 to 25 people. I cap them at 25 people, bring 20 to 25 people together, and we learn one-on-one together about government contracting. And those are essentially the two different things that we offer to help people along their journey. But I tell everybody, and like I said, I'm very unconventional when I say this, I tell everybody, go get the free information first, because there's a lot of free information out there. Become a sponge, soak up all the free information, because if people are selling courses on government contracting, everybody's course should look exactly the same if you're following the rules, because there's only one rule book and one way to do government contracting. And that's the way that the FAR says it has to be done. So every course should be exactly the same. There should be nothing different between anybody's government contracting course. They should all be identical. So that, and I tell people that I'm very upfront and honest when I say that. Now, what differentiates people's teaching skills and then also the communities, right? And some people like my teaching skills. Some people like the way that I handle and approach things. Some people like the way other people do it. Some people, like, for example, if people are in the construction industry, they may gravitate to me because I do construction, so I speak construction. But I have
Yeah.
people that come to me that are in the IT field, and I'm like, I don't do computers, so I can tell you how to generally do it, but you can't ask me how to do something for computers because I don't do computers. So if you need help with doing computer stuff, then you should probably go to somebody else that may have more experience in that. I'm very transparent in everything that I do because I want people to get the best benefit from our interaction. So I'm very open with what I'm good at and what I'm bad at.
Now, I definitely appreciate your transparency. That's something you don't come across in general in this business world and this entrepreneurship world. One of my last few questions, through the ups and downs, how would you say your faith in Christ has helped you, become who you are from starting in 2008 to where you are, where you're teaching people, where you have selling business? How would you contribute to your faith in terms of success? Like, how do you feel like your faith helped you in this journey?
My faith has been everything because when times are bad, I lean on my faith. When times are good, I praise my faith. So you never sway from your faith, no matter what, you know. A lot of times, a lot of people, they'll go to God when it's bad, but then when it's good, they forget that they prayed for the good times. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like you gotta balance it out. Like when it's bad, you gotta pray. You gotta ask. I ask for clarity. I ask for understanding. Like grant me the clarity of my mind to understand why you're taking me through these things. What am I supposed to be learning from this? Like how am I supposed to be getting stronger from this? And then once I'm through that storm and I've learned that lesson and I've gotten stronger, now I'm praising and looking back and saying, man, if I had not gone through that storm, I wouldn't have the strength to do the things that I'm doing today. So for me, it's always having unwavering faith, no matter what's going on. I'm the type of person that I literally attack every day the same. I get up every day and I do the same thing, and I attack every day with as much tenacity. Whether my bank account is overdrawn or I got hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in my bank account, you'll never know, because I'm going to act exactly the same every day, because my faith is going to be the same every day, no matter what's going on. So therefore, you're not going to see a day come by where, do I have good days and bad days? Yes, but I'm going to get up every day and do the exact same thing. I'm going to get up, I'm going to pray, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to work out, I'm going to work. It don't matter what's going on, I'm still going to do those things. And that's what it's all about, is just having that unwavering faith where you don't let anything that's going on take you away from that. Nothing can take me away from my faith. Nothing can make me believe that God can't do things for me. And I tell everybody that I work with, and not think that you're the biggest and baddest and best of everything in this world. If you do, you're going to suffer the worst fate, because you're putting all your faith in yourself and you can only do but so much. So you've got to have that faith that there's something out there that's greater than you, that's getting you to this point. And once you understand that, that's the basis for everything.
No, you're 100% right on that. And, I want to ask you this last question. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? Where do you see yourself in the next 5, 10 years?
Man, for me, from a business standpoint, I just see myself continuing to grow business-wise, just trying to be the best businessman that I can be. But like I said, more so my passion and my focus is just helping individuals be the best business people that they can be. So I really just see myself helping as many people as possible. Like I want to touch as many lives as I can. I want my voice to be heard by as many people as that can hear it. I want my trials to be, a testimony, and let that testimony be training for someone else. Like, and I don't mind taking the bumps and the bruises so that other people can make it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like God blessed me with strength to be able to take on more than the average person can take. And the reason I'm able to take it is because the average person couldn't take it, but they could learn from me. So I'm not afraid. I'm not worried about anything. I feel like I just got to keep going and keep growing and keep getting better so that others can get better as well.
That's great. And for those, for someone who may have listened to this interview, made it to the end, and they still question, just get into business or get into government contracting, what would you say to such a person? What would your word of advice be?
Just do it. What are you waiting on? Like, what are you afraid of? People, the last thing I'll say and kind of close out with is, I tell all my students, you don't have a fear of failure. You have a fear of success. And the reason I say you have a fear of success is because you already know what failure is like. A lot of times when people say, well, I don't want to try it because I don't want to lose it all. Well, if you say you don't want to lose it all, that means you've lost it before. That means you never had it before.
Yeah.
So you know what it feels like to not have it. You don't know what it feels like to really have it, right? But so you're not afraid of the failure of not having it. You're afraid of the success of, well, what happens if it actually works? Well, what do I do then? I know if I lose it, I go back to living in my mama house. But what if I make it? Where do I go then? So you're not scared to go back to living at your mama house. You're scared that if it actually works, how you gonna pay the light bill in the mansion? How you gonna put gas in the Rolls Royce? That's what you're scared of. Because you don't know what that feels. You don't know how much money it costs to fill up a Rolls Royce, but you know how much money it costs to fill up your Honda, and you're comfortable with that. So you rather not take the chance to fill up the Rolls Royce because you know that it's okay to fill up the Honda. So you're not afraid of failure, you're afraid of success. Stop being afraid of success. Like, because success is what you're asking for. So and that's the contradiction, is you're praying for success, but then you're scared to actually be successful.
Wow. Wow. I definitely want to say I appreciate you, Mr. Kevin Jennings. And, for those who are listening and watching, I hope you guys don't see as another entrepreneur, another guest on a Walk in Christ show. I hope this motivates you. I hope this encourages you to take action today. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Again, thank you, Mr. Kevin Jennings, for your time. And see
Thank
you
you.
guys next week.